Okay, for the Discord, there was a question about bouncing balls or something, so I thought I would help. So I made a folder, and I have an empty scene with nothing in here. And there's probably numerous ways to do this. So let's create a plane, give it some size, and we're going to do a few different things here. I'm going to create a sphere, and to create those you can go up to game object and create a 3D object, or you can right click in here and go 3D object as well. The sphere is a little big, so I'm going to shrink it down by the scale. Now if I bring the camera over by highlighting it, going game object, align with view, it aligns to my scene view. And if I hit play, absolutely nothing happens. Okay, now it's in play. Right, the ball is just standing there doing absolutely nothing. Okay, bedtime, guys. Stop playing. So let's change this to ball. Let's give it a rigid body, because now it's in the gravity simulation. I'm going to change collision to continuous dynamic. That'll help ensure we don't fly through objects. It detects much better. And now if I hit play, it drops. I mean, that's really all it does. It drops. It's not bouncy at all. So in our folder, I'm going to create not a material, but a physics material. And these can adjust your interactions, right? Like if I bring our friction down and I bring our bounciness up, let's go maximum, bring that down. I could then say put this on your collider, say on the ground, and we should get a little more bounce. Much better. And the ball, you could also add that material to the ball itself as well. Right, so now this is a pretty bouncy ball. In fact, it looks like it's bouncing like forever. So let's bring this down, because we don't want it to bounce forever. There we go. That's a little better. Go up just a smidge. So now we just by default we have a bouncy ball just by throwing a physics material on this object that has a rigid body. Pretty fancy so far. So the other thing I want to do is I'm going to create a material. We'll call this one blue, right? And I can stick it on to the mesh renderer of this thing. And obviously it doesn't change anything yet. We have to tell it. We have to choose a color, and we can make it blue. Now the other thing you could do, you could this emission. This is more or less so it's glowing, and this is what this value is, the intensity. You can get this big crazy glow into it, and it doesn't really look like that much, and technically it's not. Let's hit play though, and you can see. So now we have bouncing ball, and if I take the light and we bring the light down, you can see like the ball is still quite visible, and that's because it's being emissive. And if I turn the emissive off, you can see the ball is gone because it's in the light, or it has no light, right? If I start turning the light up, you can see the ball again, it's there. So that's kind of what emissive does. Now, one of the cool things about emissive is if you go into your package manager, if you're running 20, actually I guess with anything, because whatever. So if you go into here and you look for post processing, which I've already got it installed. So post processing has this really cool thing. So post processing, let's give it a layer, and let's give it a volume, and we can tell the volume that it is global. The layer, I'm going to put it on, we'll use this transparent FX layer, and I'm going to put the camera on that same layer. It doesn't have to be this transparent FX, it's just a layer I'm choosing. You can literally choose anything. So this thing, now I can set new, and it creates this new processing effect. I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to drag it into our bouncing balls. So there's nothing here, right? And if I now add effects to it, I can add, well, there's a whole bunch of things. I'm going to add bloom, and we're going to turn on intensity, turn on threshold. Intensity, we're going to turn this up, say about 0.8. Bring this down a bit. All right, so now and let's see. Why is my, okay, you know what? This guy, I have culling mask. Oh no. Yeah, okay, that's the layer. Okay, transparent FX on him. Wait a minute, where did I put my, oh geez. Look at that, I put the post-processing on the wrong thing. Alright, get rid of all that crap. So I move the camera over to the post-processing effect. We'll give him the layer because he's the one that should need it, and we'll give him the volume. The volume doesn't have to go in here, I just like to keep it there because it keeps it organized. So layer, I'm going to choose that same layer, and now you can see the ball looks a little different. Right? It's got a little glow, and I can increase that. You know. Right, let's bring, okay, now let's take this guy, bring him down, and go to our blue, our emissive, and this is what the emissive really does. See, it's got like no glow, super glow, right? So now you can have this cool glow thing happening. That's just for the fun of it. Doesn't really do anything. It's just a cool way to look at things. Okay, so now we have this bouncing blue ball. Well, there's no logic yet. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to create a material. We'll call this one red. And I'm just going to, actually, I'm going to duplicate him a couple times. And let's say yellow and green. We have blue, red, I don't know, pink, maybe a teal, I don't know. Okay, so there's, now let's go to green. So we're going to go to green. We'll give the green an emissive as well. Okay, what is our blue emissive at? 3.8, and it has a nice glow to it. So I'm gonna, well, 3.4 is close enough. Go to the pink, you know, choose more of a pinky color, and emissive, it can also be pink. Go to our red, it can be red. And yellow. Oh, there we go. So we have a bunch of materials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty here. Now, one of the things that you can do with these is if I want to mark its position somewhere in the scene, because if I unclick, how do you click on it, right? You have to click here again. You can go up to these little tags, this little box here when you have it highlighted, and you can give it various things. So I can say you use that, right? You can choose all sorts of different little things, right? Or you can choose other stuff. All right, so now I have my 3D icons off, so I got to turn that on. But now he's there, right? Now I can click on him again, and I can move him around. If I lose him, I can just click on him. Okay, guys, bedtime, please. So let's take this thing and move it somewhere over here. And I lift it way up in the air, somewhere around there. And I'll take the camera, we'll come out a bit, align it with this view. Okay. Now with this logic, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to prefab it, and just by dragging it into our folder. Now I can delete it. Now I'm going to take this logic, give it a FSM, totally spelled ball creator all messed up, but that's okay. And I am going to go to the variable tab, right? You have events, variables, variable tab, and I'm literally just going to take the ball, drop them in. I'm going to take our blue, drop it in, green, pink. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's make an array. We'll call this colors. Even better, nice and clean. And it's going to be type of material. So I'm going to preset at 5. One of the other things you could do, if you click on these things, say hit the input, it pops out here. And I can just drag these things in, just like that. So now we have a list of colors. Pretty cool. So the other thing we want is we want, say, 2 more variables. We'll call one X, Z, Y. Okay, so I guess it's 3 variables. I lied to you. And I'm going to make a state over here. For some reason, anytime I'm making logic, I tend to make a new state and then connect everything up after. I have no idea why. So what if we wanted to create this ball or that ball around here somewhere in a random position? So I could get position of the owner, because the owner is the logic which is sitting here, and this is owner position, and then I could create put it down underneath you have to convert ball, and position is owner position, right? So now, if I link that over, we get position, create the object, put a ball in that position, right? Pretty simple. If I reset that thing, I can keep making balls. And they act all weird. Okay, so what if we want to alter this position? So what if we do a random float? And I'm going to move him up to the very top. And we'll say negative 10 to 10. Call that X. Copy him, paste it before or after. And the same thing, but I'm going to do it Y. Paste it again before and do the same thing but Z. So we have negative 10 to 10 on Z, Y, X. Okay, so now we have get the position. We have a vector 3. I happen to have 3 random variables. So vector 3 add X, Y, Z, put it below those things because everything has to come into order. Owner position, we're going to add X, Y, Z, and then we created at the owner's position, which is now altered with our random variables. And again, if I hit play, as you see, it was way over there. So it's producing these things. Obviously, our logic is sitting pretty low. We got to raise it up. There we go. So now we just have a bunch of random balls falling down. Pretty cool. So that's all cool. But now what if we want to give this ball that we're creating a random material from our little colors list? Well, let's store this ball as a new ball. Okay, so now we know what we're talking about in the logic. And what do we want to do? We want to array get random. So what are we going to do? Our colors. We're going to store a value, which we don't have a variable. So this is going to be our new color. And then we are going to set material. Put him down underneath. Said everything's got to be in order. So we're going to specify the object we're changing the material of, which is going to be our new ball that we created here. And the material we want is our new color. And now, when we hit play, we should have it's randomly choosing colors. Pretty cool. So, one more thing. What if on the ball, let's add a little bit of logic on the ball, which is now a prefab. So I'm going to open the prefab. I'm going to add an FSM. We'll call this start. And I am going to get a vector. We'll call this start as well. And that is it. That's all we're going to do to it. So now, knowing that our ball has a FSM called start and a vector called start, I can now set FSM vector 3. So on the ball, which is our new ball, we have an FSM called start. We have a variable called start, and we know it's a vector. I'm going to give it that same position. And then what I want to do is I want another array. So we want an array of game objects, so just a big list of game objects. So I want to array add all the created balls. I want to add our new ball. So now let's add a button. So on this canvas, I'm just going to scale this to screen size, and I'll take the button and we will move it somewhere a little better than the middle of nowhere. Let's stick it up here, and let's relabel that reset. Okay. So let's have it so when this guy's done, he can use button click event. And the button we're looking at is going to be this guy. And we're going to send event to reset. And when we reset, what do we want to do? We want to go through our array. So we use the array get next. And we want the array of all the created balls. We have a looping event and we have a done event. So, and when you think of arrays, there, like I said, all it is a list. So this action is, this is just going to define the list we want to do, and we're going to go through that entire list, and we're going to do these actions on it, and when we're done, we're going to come here when we've done all the actions we want to all the items in the array. So what do we want to do? We want to get FSM vector3. Oh, that's the other thing. So the result. So this is the, we'll call it the current ball. So as we go through this list, right, we're going to go through and say there's 20 in here. We're going to choose this one, and this one becomes the current ball. We run our logic on it. And then we come through, we make this one the current ball, we run our logic on it. We run through, this one becomes the current ball, we run our logic on it. And that's kind of how the system works. So we know we have an FSM called start and a variable called start. So this is the ball start. Now this is going to be on the current ball. So now let's set position of the current ball to the ball start, world space, and just finish. And when we're done, actually when we're done, we're going to go back up there. We don't need that one. We'll back up and wait for the click, right? So now, if we hit this button, we have, let's zoom in a bit. We have our little bouncing ball over there, right? And if I hit the button now, he goes back to where he started. Now there is one thing, is his velocity is staying, he's keeping his velocity. We don't want that. So let's set velocity on current ball to 0. Because now, as he's going, if we just like that, it's just like he's starting all over again, just right from fresh. Doesn't matter. So the beauty part of this now is that if this is the logic to create a ball at a random point up here and give it a random position, random color, and that's all the logic we need is this guy right here. Well, what would happen if we do, in the newer PlayMaker, we have these two little actions. So we can use one called loop. So let's say, let's make a new variable, which is an integer called number of balls. Oh wait, no, we don't want this one. We want loop state, I think it is. Yeah. And it can use that same thing. And when it's done, it can use finished. So if we go to the number of balls, that one we just created, and I stick it out, the input, put it out here, I can now say how many balls we want. We want 5 balls. There we go. There's 5 balls. If I reset, they all go to their spot. You know, I can ram this up. Let's go 120 balls. Right? Which, oh, okay, well, we have to actually start that. All right? 122 balls. So we go and we create, there's 122 balls. They're just now going ballistic, right? But at the same time, they're all also part of that array. I can hit this button and they all just start all over again. So that is one thing that we could do, right? And you could take this up. We can go, wow, go something crazy. Obviously, you go too far, and it's going to really start hindering performance. You know, like that's an excessive amount. We could probably move that camera out some more. It's super far with that many balls. So that's kind of cool. Let's add one more little piece. So we know we're going to run this logic a whole bunch of times, and we have a reset. That's pretty cool. So what about another random float? Only this time, let's go 0.2 to 0.5. A new variable, call this one scale. Okay, now we come down to after we've created the ball. And let's set scale. So I said this is going to be after the ball. So on, we set the scale of the new ball, because that's what this guy is. Let's use our variable here, and there. Okay, so now we have 312 differently scaled balls, which we threw in a whole bunch of emissive just for the shits and giggles of it. Right, and you can bring up that intensity so they're all crazy. Bring it down, they look all normal again. Right, you can adjust thresholds. Right, if I go up to the threshold, go real high, but up the intensity. You know, you can get some pretty cool effects. Right, like that actually looks pretty cool. Right, you go all crazy. He's like 7. You know. And he should still be the same. Oh, no, he's not the same. Almost like just a whole bunch of dancing stars, right? So you can hit reset and it'll just take them all. And if you bring that bounce down, obviously they lose a lot of bounce real quick. You know, and you maximize the bounce, and I'm pretty sure it just bounces forever, or just about it forever. You know, unless they bounce off the whole thing. But that's a little bit of a tutorial on bouncing balls. And, well, I guess we also do some post-processing and a few other little tips and tricks. But there you have something a little cool. And you know what? I'm going to screenshot that because that's how I do my thumbs. Oh man, I should not have got that. This is also another little trick, which isn't PlayMaker obviously, but if you're on Windows, Shift Windows S at the same time, and brings up this, and I can now draw an image or draw a thing, and it should paint that. Usually it pops up with a window. It's not doing it right now because it's being stupid, but whatever. Anyways, we'll talk to you later.